What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you another locals match, and this is going to be between myself on the right. I am going to be playing Grandis, and then on the left is going to be my teammate Luis, who is going to be playing Armor Rush / Magnamon X Antibody, and this is the deck that he has kind of piloted the most, I would say, from the past formats. Did switch over to Jessamon a little bit, but is a pretty avid Armor Rush player, so this is pretty common matchup, but not one that we really got on camera. So we did play the first round, and the early game here we are just playing pretty slow, getting that blue memory boost and that Davis Ken up, and I'm developing my own tamer memory boost, but I do have the Terriermon on board, which will play around my opponent's blue memory boost. And right here, we did forget to gain the memory off the Davis Ken, so we just had to fix that really quick. Still going with the same play of playing down a jamming Vmon, and I would love to clear this off, but I don't have the X Antibody option, and I don't have a Kuwagamon. I just have the Kuwagamon X, so I'm not able to suspend something here, but I can still swing over Vmon. I don't have to pay 2 memory like I would if I attacked with the Kabuterimon, and I'm able to develop something that is pretty decent versus Magnamon if they go for Magnamon, because it'll only be at 7k, won't get boosted up, so they can't swing over me, and going into my turn, if I attack and they block, they won't be able to delete me. So having up the ultimate is nice, because then I could potentially build up into a Mega, and as of right now, it doesn't look like my opponent has a Lydramon, which would be super effective right now, because they would be able to unsuspend with the Davis Ken, keep turn, suspend my Terriermon, and potentially swing over it, and then they'd be able to start gaining more memory, whether that be through the blue memory boost or potential Hammer Sparks in hand. But we do see them go up into the Lobomon, so that way they could Digivolve into the Chimeramon, give me minus 2k, but that's enough to delete my Terriermon. And now with the Kuwagamon X, unless I go for GrandisKuwagamon into Grandis, I'm not going to really be able to get rid of this Chimeramon, but then I draw the Grandel Soul, so then I have to think about, do I want to get rid of this Chimeramon on board, or allow them to potentially go up into Magnamon X on top of it, and just have really just threats on the board. I really need time to set up another stack, because my stack on the board is not super great. I don't really have any good inheritables. I skipped the Kuwagamon, so I want to build up in the back, and so I just kind of want to slow my opponent down. So they are going to go for the Magna, going to go to 1 since they gained that memory with the Davis Ken, and now swinging, so that way if they do go down, they would be able to Digivolve back up and unsuspend. Gain the memory with the EX3 Vmon, so that way they'll go back to 1 once again. And then now if they have the Magnamon X, they could Digivolve for 4, and I will go to 3, which is what I would go to anyway. But they are searching, going for that BT8 Vmon and hitting another Davis Ken, so want more memory gain, it looks like, so that way they could go for a little bit more dynamic turns. But I do have the capabilities potentially go for a very strong turn. The only problem is I am missing very key cards in the Kuwagamon X as well as Grandis, so I do go and promote, tap the Mimi, so that way I can get another draw, and if I don't get it, I can still just build in the back. But I still don't have it, so I Digivolve into the Grand, hoping that I would be able to draw the Grandis, but now I'm just going to Digiburst and swing for 3 checks. My opponent surprisingly lets it go through, so this signifies to me that they are going to try and go for game. What they're going to be banking on, I feel like, is they swing with the Magna, it gets deleted in security, and then they're able to Digivolve into another Armor, use the Davis Ken to unsuspend, or just have another Magnamon and then go in for game. It does get deleted. They go in back just in case something does go bad, but now the Lydramon comes out, going to be able to swing, hit the Kuwagamon, and they are able to just swing in with that Vmon, so they were able to take it, was able to go for that. If the Magnamon didn't go down, I'm assuming the backup plan is to go for Magnamon X, that way you're able to redirect attack and get another recovery, but regardless, they were just able to go for the aggressive path, so I have them go first, starting off with that Lydramon in the back, and they have the Davis Ken, and so that is unfortunate, because that's going to be a pretty good amount of memory going into next turn, but I'm just going to put them at 1, and if they promote, they will go to 3, but it looks like they're going to wait to go for the Davis first, and they show that they have the Jessamon GX in there, so that is something that might come up later, but it is pretty expensive, so probably won't be too important. But they did set themselves up to be able to go to 5 memory at the start of their turn, and I don't have the Kuwagamon X or the Grandis, so I'm just going to promote Digivolve up, Digiburst the 4, that does allow me to gain the memory from the Weedmon, and then just hatch and go into another Weedmon in the back, and then green memory boost, so I can start to build up another stack. I don't really care about having the sources of the Kuwagamon, because there was no blockers or Digimon. I just wanted to try to get get aggression going, especially because I have the Mimi out there. The Mimi can represent a hybrid or an extra promote from the back, and my opponent went for an interesting play right there. They swung the Digimon into my GrandisKuwagamon so it would go down, and then went into the Magnamon so that it would get boosted up to 11k, and then traded into my 11k GrandisKuwagamon just to remove it. So that is a pretty awkward way of removing your opponent's stack, but he had to get rid of it because of the threat of something like the hybrid, or just even building up another stack in the back. And so there is another Ken that's going to be able to gain them a bunch of memory, so I'm either going to have to go for a game or get rid of this Vmon so that way they just don't gain the bunch of memory. But I do have the memory boost, so I am going to be able to go to 2, which allows me to go into the GrandisKuwagamon, Digiburst 4, gain 1 from the Weedmon, and that allows me to go into the Grandis, which now I'm just swinging and hoping I don't hit a Hammer Spark, but even if I do, my opponent has nothing on the board to go for game, and I don't, so end of attack, unsuspend, and swing in, tying the set 1-1. Now going into game 3, I will be going first, which is fine because I can just choke them to 1 by going with the Kabuterimon. And they're just going to go for the Vmon on the board, and I'm going to promote out the Kabuterimon just so that way I have a blocker. They are going to want to go for early chip damage, so just setting up that Kabuterimon is fine. I can put out the Mimi and start to build another stack in the back while being able to just preserve some life, because the thing about Armor Rush is if you're not careful, they can just get you with things like Fire Rockets and go for crazy checks, being able to get deleted, unsuspend with the Ken and stuff like that. But Ken is just very prominent in this deck. They already have one out in the deck. I do believe they are playing 4 Kens in their list, so there's a pretty good chance of being able to get one early. Now going with that Kukumon into the Stingmon, and I'm just building up the full stack. Being able to stack the rookies on top of each other is slightly important because that means I can either get an extra Digiburst to go for an extra security check, or I can keep a source in there like the Okuamon so that when I delete something I can gain a memory. So moving on, we see my opponent build that Magnamon in the back, which again I don't like because I don't want them to be building up into the Magnamon X antibody, but I am able to get that Okuamon in the back, and I Digivolve up using the Okuamon because I wanted to give my opponent minimal memory without having to use too many resources. So I do get rid of the blocker, which could be a bit unfortunate, but it's not that big of a deal now that we see the Flamedramon come out, because if I did block, it would get deleted either way, as to where before when I was blocking Vmons, it was much safer. But regardless, my opponent is in a weird position now because I do have 2 ultimates, one on the board, one in the raising with the Mimi and the green memory boost, so it's very easy for me to get up into my Megas right now as long as I have them in hand, and both of their Digimon are suspended with their blocker being suspended, so they need to go into Magnamon X. This is going to allow them to be able to redirect my attacks while also being able to armor purge, which means I'm not going to get piercing checks like I would with my Okuamon. So I have to get rid of this obviously because it's just a big threat. I'm gonna have to get through it, so I go for the GrandisKuwagamon. I am just going to Digiburst 2 here because I am gonna have to swing over all these armor purges, and I'm only going to get 1 piercing check, so I'd rather just keep my inheritables that allow me to gain memory when I delete Digimon. So I'm going to swing into the Magnamon X here. They will be able to recover it, and I don't get any piercing or anything because of the fact that they are armor purging, but I can get rid of the Flamedramon, make it a Vmon. That I will be able to delete, no more armor purge, so I will pierce 2 checks, and because of my Okuamon and my Stingmon inheritables, I am going to gain 2 memory, allowing me to just choke my opponent a little bit, putting them at 1 with the Terriermon. Then they go to 2 with the Davis and Ken, and they're going to swing the Magna, hit that Grandel Soul, which is going to remove their only Digimon on the board, but they are going to respond with that Giga Death, which will suspend my board and bottom deck everything, which is unfortunate because that was quite an effective Giga Death, but it does give me a ton of memory, which is going to allow me to build up into another stack while also having the Mimi and the green memory boost. So I do have the ability to go for game with a hybrid here as long as I don't hit something like a Hammer Spark. So I build up Digiburst, getting that memory to go into the GrandisKuwagamon, pop the blue memory boost preemptively just in case I hit a blue Hammer Spark or an Ice Wall, but I don't. I swing, I unsuspend, I swing that last check, and I can go for the Metal Kabuterimon and just hybrid for game. So that is going to be today's match. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe because I'll be bringing you even more Digimon content, but I hope you have a fantastic day and happy holidays. Peace out.